Hi, Greg Eckler here with My Expert Agent. Today I'm giving you a behind-the-scenes look of a bidding war from the seller's perspective, giving you my perspective on things I analyze and how I present them to the seller, and then how we collaborate to make a final decision on which offer to pick. So the house I'm talking about is 4425 Utica Street. This is in the Berkeley neighborhood, about one block from the 44th and Tennyson shops in Berkeley. So we listed the house at $700,000. My original analysis toward the beginning of the year was around $650, and the analysis as we were going on the market really started to prove about $700,000. So we thought it was worth trying that and seeing what would happen. There weren't a lot of great comparable properties, so it could go up, it could go down. We were kind of waiting to see what happens. And in this price range, I wasn't expecting a bidding war. I didn't prep the sellers for that, but told them about the possibility and we would see what would happen. So going on the market, there was a logic about the timing on when to start this. So I like this logic a lot, and studying the market and how other agents put their listings on the market, this seems to be a trend. But my logic is list a house on Thursday evening after business hours, so anybody who is seeing the listing right away understands it, has some time on Thursday night to think about it, and maybe schedule a showing for Friday. If you have buyers with a saved search, or if you are a buyer saving searches, then you typically will get an email either right away or in the morning when new listings come on the market. So we're also targeting these people. So you're getting it right away, or you're getting the email on Friday morning, and you have all day Friday to kind of look at it and think about it while you're working and figure out a time to set up a showing. But we restrict showings to Saturday morning. And the logic here is to get everyone to see it at the same time, so they see each other, create a sense of urgency and possibly a frenzy to get multiple offers in and to get the price higher and get the best offer for the seller. And in this case, it worked. There was one agent that ended up showing it a half hour early. There were 3 or 4 showings between 9 and 10, I think, and 11 in the morning on Saturday. So as a result of the 20 or so showings that we had, we ended up with 4 offers. And here I'm going to show you the breakdown of all the offers and my logic as I'm looking at them with the seller. So as you can see here, these are the highlights of these offers. There's a lot more details. Most of the details in these offers were pretty clean and pretty normal in my perspective, so they didn't draw attention and weren't worth talking about today. So the first thing I look at is the communication. How great is the agent selling the buyer? Do they love the neighborhood? Do they love the house? Are they qualified? Everything that you would do to prep your buyer for to be the best person to essentially date, marry, take the job interview, whatever analogy you want to use for this. Offer price is obviously important. It's the money. This would be talking about an escalation clause, which I'll break down in a minute. How much earnest money are they offering? Are they getting a loan or paying cash? When is the closing date? Are they waiving appraisal or getting an appraisal? Do they have a lender letter? Can they prove they have the funds that they say they do? I look at the agent profile. Do they know the area or not? Do they do a lot of business or not? And what questions did we have as a result of the offer? So looking at offer 1, the communication was great. The offer price was the best that we received, $755. There was no escalation clause because the offer was so good by itself. The earnest money was $30,000, and they were doing an 80% loan, closing at the end of May, which is what we were asking for. They were waiving the appraisal altogether, and they had a lender letter, and they were able to prove their funds for down payment and possible appraisal issues. Offer 2 was great communication. Offer price was $750, so $5,000 less. No escalation clause because of where the offer was. $10,000 in earnest money, which is what we were asking for, but this was a cash deal. Cash is great, but not significantly better. You know, it takes out some of the variables of the loan that can pop up, but it also, I've never had a loan not close in 14 years, so I don't weigh cash that heavily, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. They had a pretty quick closing, which is the closing we actually ended up with, May 10th, and they were waiving appraisal altogether. There was no lender letter because it was a cash deal, and they showed proof of funds for over $1 million. The one question that we did have, which I'll talk about in a minute, is did the buyers actually see the house? And I'll go through that in just a second. Offer 3 was good or normal communication, what I would normally expect. Lower offer, 725, but would it beat any other offer by 2,500 up to 740,000. Same earnest money, 20% down, 80% loan, normal closing date, but this was going to get an appraisal, and this I think is what ended up killing this offer, because they were going to get an appraisal and they weren't going to waive any appraisal issues. The lender letter was provided, and I don't remember if there was a proof of funds or not. On the offer number 4, it was a good and normal communication. This was our lowest offer, but they would escalate up to 730 by beating anyone by $2,000. Earnest money was 10,000. Lot of down payment, so 60% down or 58% down, 42% loan, very quick closing, which can be appealing. Wasn't appealing to our sellers, but we would have negotiated that if it was the best offer, and they were waiving the appraisal. So it really came down to these 2 offers, the highest prices and cash versus loan. And what it came down to was weighing the $5,000 difference with the lack of potential issues that comes along with cash or not getting a loan, and waiving the appraisal and not actually getting an appraisal. This was waiving the appraisal, but would still see the appraisal value. So in a crazy case where the appraisal came in at 650 and they're paying 755, that could be a reason to back out later. Not likely. It was a great house and probably wasn't going to have any appraisal issues, but again, you just don't know. So based on the sellers were willing to take $5,000 less for less minor issues, and it ended up being tiebreakers. The one thing that we actually called the agent about during our decision process was the house was being put into a trust, and we had a question whether the buyers, the people that owned the trust, had actually seen the house or not. And we called the agent. She was great. We asked if the buyers had actually seen the house, and she said no. We expected maybe she'd kind of exaggerate or not tell us whatever to try and get her offer accepted, but she was very straightforward and said no, our buyers hadn't seen it. The buyer's daughter was the one that was going to live in it and had the authority to kind of make these decisions. We ended up calling back later to that agent and said, we don't quite like that. We're not really sure about that. Can we call the buyers and talk to them about this and understand what they're thinking, what their logic is, spending this much money on a house and never seeing it? And she said sure. So we ended up getting the phone number for the buyer, made the phone call, and it went great. They discussed why and the motives and the reasoning and the trust in their daughter, and it was a love fest. And the buyers and sellers communicated great. It was a great way to start the transaction. Most people, including myself in the past, really never want buyers and sellers to talk to each other. But in this case, and many others I'll talk about in different videos, the buyers and sellers talking was what put this deal together, and what made it all work great. So hopefully this was giving you some perspective on what happens behind a bidding war, some of the things that matter in an offer, and tiebreakers. And in this case, really no one had a chance to compete with the cash and waiving the appraisal unless there was a significant difference in the price, and there wasn't. So hope this helps, and thanks for watching.